don't be alarmed. Don't be overwhelmed. Yes, this is the Path of Exile skill tree. It is a scary thing to look at, but it's simple when you break it down to its basic form. And when I mean break it down to its basic form, God, I wish I had something that I could draw on. I think a way to draw on screen. I don't have that After Effects and everything else, but basically everything from here this way is spell based. Everything from here to here is strength melee, and everything from here is dex, ranged dex. Some melee dex as well, but don't worry about that. That's besides the point. Don't worry about the big details. Today, in this video, we're covering classes and ascendancies. This will probably be the longest video I have for Path of Exile to date. The reason for that is because, as you can see, there is 3 ascendancies, 3 ascendancies, 3, 3, 3, 3, and then there's one huge one down here. So let's break down your 7 classes, right? Because this is where we're also going to start breaking into ascendancies. Starting out at the very top, and we're going to work our way clockwise to the center, we have the Witch. Let me switch this. What a lovely lady she seems. White eyes, big arcane thing behind her. Beautiful things over here. Nice. Pretty nice lady, right? Over here, we've got the most sadistic guy you'll ever meet. The Shadow. Look at him. He's assassinating people, and looks like he's got like a sword in this hand and a dagger or sword in that hand. What an assassin. What a pal. What a guy, right? Just killing off your friends. Then we get our Ranger. This lady looks nice. Short hair, white top, buckled pants. They put Laura Croft in a game? I'm just kidding. It's the Ranger. She's fun to play. Then we get our Duelist. If this isn't a sexy man right here, look at him. Couple buttons undone, all nonchalant with a sword pointing at someone like, hey, I'm here to duel. What a fun guy. Then we get the ugliest guy in the building. The Marauder. He's got a little hammer. He's holding it on dead dude that's trying to bite him with like 30 of them behind him. What is wrong with this guy? Face is all burned up with scars. I'm just kidding. He's not that bad. And then we get our... Nope, wrong button. Templar. This guy looks like he's a priest who works out with steroids a lot. Looks like he's got a club in his hand too. They got like little spikes on it with a little like orb, or is that part of the Templar? Yeah, it is. He's got a little club with spikes and a ball on it. What a guy. And finally we get our Scion, which they don't give us a picture of, that just lights up here. So, how this basically breaks down, we will start again at the top with the Witch for ascendancies. And as you can see right now, none of them are lit up, but we have the Occultist, the Elementalist, and my screen getting screwed, and the Necromancer. So, ideally, the Elementalist is going to be your typical fire, ice, and your fire, cold, and lightning spells, things like that, with bonuses to them. I'm not going to go into detail with what they do because they're very guide specific, and there's many of uses for them that don't apply to a single situation. So when you're building your build and you decide, like, if you're going to custom build a build and you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to play in a Necromancer this, these things scale in different ways that I can't begin to describe in a video. It's like a 2-day discussion. But when you're making a build around a Elementalist or a Occultist or a Necromancer, there's specific reasons to use them and specific reasons not to use them. So play around with it. It'll take some time to fully understand, but essentially, Necromancer is kind of around summoning minions. Occultist is more about, like, I don't know, damage over time by the basic looks of it. I've never played an actual Occultist, so I don't know. That's somebody else. So let's go over to the Shadow. Look at this boy. Look, he's got like looks like somebody running. a guy that looks like he's done something sinister, and a guy that looks like he's about to do something sinister. So let's look at it. We got an assassin. He's basically poisoned dot over time. I think he's basically poisoned dot over time with some crit. Movement speed, deadly infusion, things like that. Specific build references that I would say is like normally if you're gonna play like a ranged like toxic rain build, maybe this would be the best thing to do. I won't, again, I can sit here and probably break down 500 different builds of why you would use this and why you wouldn't use this, but basically the Ascendancy being Assassin. Then we get Trickster, which he gets some chaos damage and stuff like that. Really interesting. This ting 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 ting. Yeah, looks like a little like wheel, but I was going off on a tangent and then I lost it. Trickster, I see a lot of Trickster builds being done with like damage over time again, chaos damage hits, damage over time, things like that, cast speed. And then we get our friend, the Saboteur. This guy is all about trap and mind damage, so trap builds. Probably the best way to go if you're going to play a trap build is this thing. Now, there's going to be exceptions to this rule. Remember, it's Path of Exile. Just because it says it does trap and mind damage doesn't mean it's the best for trap and mind damage. But essentially, yes, that's what we're going to be looking at if you're playing a Saboteur. And then we move on to our lovely Lara Croft, Ranger. Oh, and our first thing is a Raider! I knew it! I'm just kidding. But essentially, yes, we have a Raider. She looks like she's got some reasons to play. Movement, speed, phasing, rapid assault, Avatar of the Slaughter. Likes to slaughter things. Great. Sword and shield. Do not base the image off the fact that it looks like it should be using a sword and shield. It's not the case all the time. You could two-hander this. You can bow this. You can staff this. Don't base this information here. Then we get our Deadeye, which I don't know why they did these out of order. This should have been din din din, but whatever. Deadeye, again, projectile. This is one of the only few cases that you should specify something to a specific way to go about things. When it specifies skills fire an additional projectile, you obviously cannot throw, unless you're playing Spectre Throw, you cannot throw an extra projectile while slapping something in the face with an axe. Fire shot increases the damage, things like that. Ricochet bounces between it. So like this is one of the only cases that you would look at like this being unique to a specific thing. Now there's there's a couple more. We'll cover them later. But Deadeye obviously has nice little bonuses to accuracy and projectile damage. Pathfinder, the hybrid. Look at her. She's got a little knife. She's got a bow. She's a happy person. And she gets some good flask use, right? Extra flasks. Who doesn't want extra flasks? I like extra flasks. Everything is all about flask duration. Love it. Moving on to the sexy beast that this guy is. Get me over to the Duelist. So the Duelist is one of my favorite characters to play because I like melee combat. Duelists thrive in melee combat. They can still do some range, they can still do some spell casting, but spell casting is really not the best way to go about it. There might be somebody that can work out a build that makes sense of how you waste the points going down and around and up into the spell area to do something, but generally not very many people do that. So let's go Duelist. We got Slayer. Slayer is very specific to two-handed weapons, and you'll notice this in a moment. Two-handed, 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 two-handed. The reason why the Slayer is probably one of the easiest things I could spend 4 hours talking about is because you get Endless Hunger. 20% of overkill damages leech just life. You're immune to bleeding while leeching. And then 100% increased life leech per second, 30% increased damage while leeching. Life leeches are not moved while at max life. That's where you can do overleech. So if you ever hear somebody refer to overleech, that's this. The reason I'm going into this more detail is because I know more about it to go into detail. Headsman, 20% more damage if you've killed recently, and you cannot take physical reflect. Beautiful. And Bane of Legends gains onslaught for 20 seconds after killing a rare unique enemy, and you get a 20% call. Calling strike means that when something falls 10% below, it dies instantaneously. 10% gone. Now, with Bane of Legends, you get 20% call, which means that at 19.9%, it instantly dies. So you only have to effectively fight something for 80% of its life. 80.1%, excuse me. Moving on to Gladiator, which is another case where they did, instead of going in a row, they went heh heh, I don't know. Gladiators, they excel at one-handed attack speed and block chance, one-handed speed and damage, block chance, damage. Essentially, these are your dual-wielding class, or your sword and shield classes, and stuff like that. I have not played a Gladiator very often. I haven't had a reason to play one, so I don't know enough about it to specify what you should do with it. I have played a Champion, which is going to be our last one we call. These ones are really nice because they get banners, they get taunts. Here's where this becomes important for this. When you play this, enemies taunted take 20% increased damage, and enemies taunted by you cannot evade attacks. The reason this is important, because like this allows you to never miss, right? Never miss, or cannot evade attacks. I think they can still block them. I don't know. I don't know if block consists as an invade or not. That's outside of my knowledge. We'll come back to that. Moving on to our Marauder. Yeah, we skipped over that big one for right now. We'll go back to it. Don't mind that. Marauders, we get Juggernauts. These are the fun ones. These are the tanky guys because they get basically unflinching, unrelenting, unyielding, undeniable, which is basically a way to increase their attack damage, unstoppable movement speed, and cannot be stunned. This is very important. Cannot be modified below base movement speed, which means that you can never walk slower than your slowest walk. It means you can't be slowed to where you're crawling. And then Unbreakable, which is more regeneration. Berserker. I have not touched Berserker since the rework. There's not been a lot of builds that I've wanted to play in it. But it's something that as I get more proficient in the game and more understanding in the game, I will cover more. I'd probably play a Berserker a little bit more. Chieftain, I have played one time, and I sucked with it. And that's because I screwed up the build. Not the fact that Chieftain sucks. I will tell you, the only reason why it sucked is because I screwed up. Chieftain are your way to go for fire damage if you're going to do a Marauder fire build. Now, don't confuse that with Righteous Fire, because Righteous Fire, you'll probably play a Juggernaut. There's very few instances you'll play a Chieftain, but don't quote me on that. And then finally, our Templar guy. This guy is kind of a hybrid of things. He's like a tank / spellcaster. There's a lot of things to do with him. They've recently got a rework for the new brand skills that came out. So I've never played. I played a Righteous Fire Inquisitor once. Was it Inquisitor? Or was it? Yeah, it wasn't a Hierophant, which is a totem-based thing. I think, because they get totems, right? Totem duration, more totem speed, conviction of power, totems. Yeah, these are more the totems I'm not too familiar with. Gain an arcane surge when your totems hit an enemy with a spell, immune to elemental elements while you have arcane surge. I don't even know what that means. Not that familiar with it. Guardian, this is your tanky thing, time of need, reduce curses, cascade. I think this is the people that play Urabots play Guardians. They don't play Hierophants or Inquisitors, but I've never played an Urabot to really give you anything. Now, we're going to the Scion, which is this lady in the center, where she's kind of like the jack of all trades. And I say jack of all trades because she's jack of all trades, master of none, but she sometimes excels better at everything that's going on here than the original class would do. And the reason for that is, let's look at the Ascendant Wheel. This I've played around with quite a bit, and this is fun. So you only get 8 points. Now let me specify this because I should have covered this at the beginning of the video. You only get 8 points to spend in the Ascendancy pool. But if you look, to complete this still leaves you 3 points. Still leaves you 3 points if you decide to go this route. So you can go 3 points into anything else. So in a sense, you can play a duelist, which gets the, let's say, the Slayer, right? You get the Culling Strike, the life leech effects are not there, and you can't take Fizz Reflect from Slayer. Then you can also come up here and take Elementalist and not take Reflect damage. So you can effectively do every map mod, aside from no Leech, without ever taking Reflect damage or anything like that. I specify things like this for a reason, because the Scion is the one thing you can kind of do to best of both worlds in a sense. But the reason I say it's Jack of all trades, master of none, because if you look at this, you get the 20% increased area effect. You cannot take reflected damage. You get 20% increased damage while leeching, but what don't you get? You do not get the 100% increased life, and you lose 10% of the damage because you're only getting 20%, but you're not getting the other. You're sacrificing some parts of the main Ascendancy for Slayer to get the ability to have the Elementalist or the Pathfinder with more Flask effect. There's specific reasons to do specific things with specific characters. Now I'm saying specific a lot, but that's besides the point. This video, as I said, was probably going to be the longest video I make because there's so much to cover and so much things to go over in it. And I say that because if you look at the infinite possibilities of a Scion and the infinite possibilities of everything in here, in the Ascendancy, there's so much that you can cover and do and go through that you don't have to actually, have to contemplate, is this better than something else? Like, this is the point of Path of Exile. Well, there's a huge game component to it. Like if you were to break down Path of Exile and say, all right, so from here to here, this way is the game component. This other circle that I've left out over here is theory crafting. I've spent probably 20 hours just sitting down here going, okay, you know what? I want to take a look at, let's say I'm going to build a shadow and I'm going to do poison damage, right? I don't know why I did those points. That's a complete waste. I'm going to do a shadow with poison damage, and I want to get some extra XP, and I want to go down here for more chaos damage. And I want to make sure that I'm using claws, and I want to make sure that I'm getting Ghost Reaver and Chaos Inoculation, and I also want this over here, and then I want this over here. This is never a tree you'll ever actually look at. Trust me on that, you'll never actually look at it. But there's theory crafting. There's so much theory crafting in this game that you could spend hundreds of hours theory crafting builds and putting them to the test in the game to see if you like playing them. So much can be done, and because there's these ascendancies. Now, I want to specify, ascendancies are subject to change, so take what I've said about the specific ascendancies that I've mentioned in this guide or this video. They are subject to change based off of current league. As of right now, there's not been changes done to these things. Come in 12 days, when the new league starts synthesis, there very well might be changes to each one of these ascendancies. They might change 1, they might change 4, they might change all, they might not change any. The point is, they are subject to change, so when you look at build guides, remember, if it's an older version of a build, it might not apply to current content. Remember that. Other than that, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, queries, or feedback or suggestions about ascendancies that I'm not in-depth covering them, because when I make build guides for my characters going forward, I will make in-depth guides about why I chose what part of the Ascendancy I did and why I didn't go a different route or anything else of the sort. As I said, there are 2 builds that I'm going to work on playing. One of them is probably going to be a Stormbrand Inquisitor, which I think gets the brand damage, right? Is it the Inquisitor? Or is it the what's the one that gets brands? Mana regen, full life, sign of purpose. Brand attachment. So it actually might not be an Inquisitor. It would be a Hierophant. Maybe. Consecrated ground changes. I actually believe the Inquisitor is getting a change because of Consecrated Ground and the new auras. So it might actually be an Inquisitor. I don't know yet. But a Stormbrand, Inquisitor, or Hierophant might be in my future. That being said, the other character I will play will probably be a Juggernaut or a Slayer for Uber Labs and bossing. I haven't decided yet. There's a lot to factor in. I want to wait till I get the full patch notes on the upcoming content for Synthesis to find out if I'm even going to do a Stormbrand, because they might nerf it into the ground to where it's not worth playing, and I might play a Shadow with either an Assassin or Trickster with the spell damage bonuses that they get. The decision hasn't fully been made yet, and I'm not too worried about it. I need to check something real quick. Did I get... No. Cool. Just checking on something else. But essentially, with what's going on with Synthesis after patch notes gets released, we see what's getting buffed, what's getting nerfed, what's getting moved around, what's getting upgraded, what's going on, seeing if there's anything that's changing to the Atlas and things like that. We shall see. The reason I really didn't go over a lot of the Ascendancies is because of how often they change, and you might watch this video 2 years from now, and none of what I've said here will apply to that, because the tree could have been shifted around, it could have been moved, the character could have been added or removed from the game. With the way the future holds for Path of Exile, it's going to keep going. This game is amazing. It's got a lot of theory crafting and things like that, and it's going to take months for me to release enough videos to kind of comprehend. So I probably will do one other video upload today, maybe, because I have my vlog, I have my RuneScape, I have my Path of Exile, but I didn't cover a couple of things, so I might do a video later. I might not. I might wait till next week's vlog while I'll cover it, because it'll be close to content. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching my craptacular video on Ascendancies. We will be doing more in-depth things, and I will probably do a build plan guide for one of my characters sometime next weekend. Will be probably my plan guide, pending we get patch notes. So if we don't get patch notes, I'll do a different video, which I'll cover at that point. But when patch notes come out and I get the information, I will start looking at builds to play. Anyway, thanks again for watching, guys. You guys have a great one. I had to look because my stop record button's over on my other monitor. But have a good one. Thanks for watching. And if you play hardcore, try not to die. Play softcore, try not to die as much as me.